fact. Doctors are taking out payday loans. That kind of blew my mind. Doctors, as far as I know, make a ton of money.
What do you mean he did it for the money? He's a doctor. He's already rich.
So Alec did some digging, and he uncovered this new, brazen strategy in healthcare. It's responsible not only for those scummy loans, but also denying patients, like you and the people you love, the vital care that they need. And it goes far beyond just our already broken system. So, who's the shadowy supervillain behind this plot to rip off both doctors and patients? It's America's largest insurer. This is The Classroom for More Perfect Union, and today we're looking at the massive power of UnitedHealthcare. Before we get into UnitedHealthcare's new strategy to shortchange doctors and patients alike, we need to talk about how they became America's largest insurer. United was founded in Minneapolis in 1977 and pioneered a new kind of insurance, treating people within closed networks of providers, health maintenance organizations, or HMOs. HMOs were pitched as a way to curb America's exploding healthcare costs, which did not happen. HMOs proliferated after 1973 as a result of the Health Maintenance Organization Act, which gave federal grants and mandated employers offer an HMO option to their employees. The law suddenly made HMOs very popular and very profitable. Alec told me about an old nonprofit HMO, Physicians Health Plan.
It's a network of doctors in a health maintenance organization in Minneapolis, and they had hired UnitedHealthcare to manage the HMO. Physicians Health Plan is a nonprofit, but UnitedHealthcare is very much for-profit.
Were the doctors happy? Was this a good system for them?
No, they were so unhappy that there was national news coverage that they were threatening to unionize. They were mad that they were being underpaid by UnitedHealthcare, saying it was barely enough to cover their overhead. They were also alleging a conflict of interest with the chair of the nonprofit Physicians Health Plan, who was Richard Burke.
And who ran the for-profit UnitedHealthcare?
Also Richard Burke. So this man who was running a nonprofit had hired his for-profit company to manage this nonprofit tax-exempt organization.
When you first mentioned Richard Burke to me, I tried looking him up online, and there's really not that much. I tried a video search, and I only found this one video.
The whiteboard video?
The whiteboard video. This guy with a whiteboard that's literally about how it's so hard to find information about this guy online.
He's only mentioned once in United Health Group's own history. He's been thoroughly involved since the beginning, and he's thoroughly involved now. There are very few to no articles about this person. Can you find articles about the founders of all these companies? Gobs and gobs and gobs of them, but not Richard T. Burke. Organizations are not nameless and faceless. I mean, they are groups of people, and people are responsible for decisions that cause these organizations to be the way they are.
Much of United's initial growth was enabled by the HMO Act and the $300 million in grants from the government. Burke and United started snapping up all of these federally subsidized insurers, essentially stealing entire taxpayer-funded organizations. And it makes a lot of sense that the bill was so helpful to UnitedHealthcare. It was written by a think tank, Interstudy.
Interstudy was founded by Paul Elwood Jr. He's this guy who's called the father of the HMO. But I also found another important figure at Interstudy. One of the directors was none other than Richard Burke.
United grew from a regional group of HMOs to a national insurer with a breadth of plans. Like other insurers, they claimed their growth would be helpful to the average American. The bigger they got, they said, the better they could negotiate with healthcare providers and
pass the savings on to you.
which did not happen. A wave of mergers and acquisitions in the insurance industry in the 90s wiped out the patchwork of regional nonprofit insurers that had already existed. Companies like Anthem went on a shopping spree for these nonprofits and added them to their for-profit empire. At the same time, United continued to consolidate and spent billions acquiring other for-profit insurers. Despite their promises, healthcare costs continued to increase. But they were getting more efficient in one crucial way: rationing your healthcare. For years, only a small portion of claims got denied. It just wasn't cost-effective to have a human review every request for care. But today, nearly 1 in 5 claims are denied. In 2021, that added up to nearly 50 million. 50 million instances of Americans being told, no, we won't pay for that thing you need to live a healthy life. Think about it. You pay a premium every month to UnitedHealth and other insurers for health insurance, and they mostly focus on making sure that they won't have to foot the bill. You can appeal denials, but insurers do everything in their power to make that super difficult. Only 1 in 500 cases are appealed. There are 500 sheets in a ream of paper, and those fail 59% of the time, leaving this little sliver of paper as the lucky ones that got through compared to all of this. These are worth billions of dollars for insurers. So what the hell is going on here? Let me explain. As these companies grew and got some of that sweet economy of scale, having entire departments of people to look at claims and deny them became way cheaper.
I found an older newspaper article where a real person's job title was simply denial nurse.
Denial nurse.
Denial nurse.
It isn't just nurses poring over claims looking for excuses to deny them. Tech plays a role too. Dr. Alan Mooney, an executive at United, pioneered a system that allowed for bulk claim denials at rapid speed. United's aggressive denial or underpayment of claims has made them the target of tons of lawsuits.
They're losing a bunch of cases. They were sued by 2 healthcare groups, Team Healthcare and Envision. The things that they were alleging in these suits that they won was gross underpayment and mass denial of claims, right? So in the case of Envision, they were rejecting nearly half of all the doctor's claims for medical care.
Huge hospitals have very expensive, well-staffed billing departments to chase down insurers for money, but most small practices don't have that luxury. But denying claims is just the start of United's plan to pad their profits at the expense of the patient. Which brings us back to the payday loans.
While I was reporting this piece, I reached out to one doctor who was publicly complaining about the payday loans from United. So the doctor emailed me this report, and the number in there that they pointed me to was that 41% of healthcare providers needed to take out external funds to stay afloat. So like loans, stimulus, etc.
This is why doctors and practices end up needing to take out those predatory payday loans. Appealing a denied claim can take months or years, so companies will front providers that money as they hope for insurer payouts. So UnitedHealthcare's constant denials can be very profitable for a payday loan lender, which really works out for United because, of course, they own one, Optum. Optum not only speeds up claim processing to United and other insurers, they offer something called Optum Pay Advance. They must have known that sounds terrible because they've since rebranded that service to the more sterile Capital Loan. When capital loans aren't enough for small practices, there are plenty of companies in the market to buy struggling healthcare providers outright, like Blackstone and CVS. But most importantly, UnitedHealthcare. Now the largest employer of physicians in America, 70,000 of them. United's strategy is called vertical integration. It's part of an ongoing process that gets UnitedHealthcare a cut of every single step of the healthcare process. Say you're uninsured. You injure your knee and go to an online pharmacy for some Advil. While you're shopping around, you see an ad for a doctor specializing in knee pain. A few clicks later, you're scheduled for a knee replacement. The surgery is obviously pretty expensive, so the doctor refers you to a service offering loans to people like you. Faced with thousands of dollars in medical debt, you start considering a health insurance policy. In CEO Andrew Whitty's vision, every part of this process, the pharmacy, the doctor, the loan provider, the insurance, are all run by the same company, his.
There are very few companies in America that have a relationship with 100 million Americans, and none that have a relationship as intimate as healthcare.
Already, UnitedHealthcare members might be told they're required to purchase specific drugs from a hand-selected pharmacy.
Welcome to Optum Rx.
Optum. Sound familiar?
Working every day to take care of your pharmacy needs and make sure that you get the most out of your new benefits.
While insurers say their big happy healthcare family will save you money, it's more like a personal health dictator. A dictator who has a legal responsibility to make as much money as possible. And they're doing a really good job. In 2010, United was worth around $35 billion. Today, it's worth more than $450 billion. When insurers aren't using their savings to invest in vertical integration, they're using it to enrich their shareholders. In 2022, for instance, 7 major insurers, including UnitedHealthcare, generated nearly $70 billion in profit, and proceeded to spend $26 billion of that in stock buybacks. And of course, the executives, the characters you've met so far, are winning too. Richard Burke retired from the United board in 2022 with an estimated net worth of $500 million. And while United executives like to speak of firewalls between their business branches to ward off conflicts of interest, they have been busted for using their subsidiaries to manipulate the market.
New York's Attorney General charged United Health Group with using a research firm the company itself owns to manipulate reimbursement rates.
That firm was called Ingenix, which you might have guessed shut down. Nope, they just rebranded as Optum Insight. Today, Envision alleges that United uses its negotiating power to lower reimbursements for practices or to kick them out of network, putting them in the kind of financial distress that would allow Optum to swoop in and acquire them. The Department of Justice tried to stop United's acquisition of Change, Optum's competitor that facilitates the exchange of claims information between providers and insurers, but in spite of United's history with Ingenix, the judge took CEO Andrew Whitty's word that sharing of competitor info would be against, quote, everything we stand for in the organization. With this merger, United will have access to a trove of data on what other insurers are paying and what they've negotiated with doctors and hospitals. This could allow them to unfairly undermine the competition, further cementing their healthcare monopoly.
It's also worth mentioning that before he was the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, Andrew Whitty was the CEO of the drug maker GlaxoSmithKline.
While Whitty was in charge, GlaxoSmithKline paid $3 billion for fraud, including but not limited to bribing doctors and, quote, encouraging the prescription of unsuitable antidepressants to children.
It's an organization with a great ethos, a belief in doing things with integrity, a belief in putting the patient at the heart of every decision we make.
Like a jewel thief who moonlights selling security cameras, United has found a way to profit even more off of the havoc that they wreak. If their practices bankrupt your doctor's offices, they can give them a loan or acquire them for dirt cheap. Then, if your medical provider disagrees with United's unwillingness to pay for a CT scan, they'll have to keep in mind that the people they're arguing with are their employer, their owner. If you can't afford your deductible, they can offer you a loan. When you're looking up information about medical procedures, the article might be written by someone on the United Health payroll, who now has an incentive to push treatment good for United's bottom line. And for Whitty, United is just getting started. Quote, despite our size, we're just scratching the surface of the opportunity, he told a group of investors. If 40 years of consolidation has taught us anything about health insurance, it's that big is usually bad. While companies like United will always frame their growth as a way to help you, their relentless rationing of healthcare shows it's anything but. They've done it with automated denials, and they'll continue to find innovative ways to protect their bottom line as they acquire more and more healthcare businesses. So what can be done about this? Vertical integration has been a very convenient way to escape antitrust measures for insurers like United, because regulators are accustomed to only scrutinizing acquisitions that remove their competition in the same space, in this case, insurance. United isn't even the only problem. Their vertical integration strategy is spreading across the industry. It isn't too late for antitrust regulators to start scrutinizing when companies like CVS or UnitedHealthcare are buying up anything and everything. So, how have the healthcare monopolies affected